The untold story of Draco Malfoy, the wand that whispered secrets in the shadowy depths of Ollivanders. A young Draco Malfoy stood before rows of mysterious wand boxes, his pale fingers trembling slightly as he reached for his destiny. The wand that chose him was 10 inches of hawthorn wood, its core pulsing with unicorn hair, a combination that would haunt him for years to come. Curious, old Ollivander had murmured, his silvery eyes gleaming. Hawthorn wands are most peculiar. They're drawn to wizards with conflicted natures, those who may need help overcoming their own inner turmoil. Young Draco had scoffed then, his chin raised with the arrogance of youth. But, as the years passed, that wand seemed to mock him with every spell. Hawthorn was known for its healing properties, for protection and hope, everything Draco was taught to despise. Yet, in his darkest moments, when he was alone with his thoughts, he could swear the wand hummed with an energy that felt like redemption, the art of hidden thoughts. By his 6th year at Hogwarts, Draco had mastered an art that few his age could claim: Occlumency. Night after night, he sat in the cold dungeons of Slytherin House, building walls in his mind brick by brick, not because he wanted to, but because he had to. The Dark Lord's crimson eyes seemed to pierce through everything, and Draco learned to bury his thoughts deep. His terror, his doubt, his growing realization that he was in far over his head. Of it had to be hidden behind impenetrable mental barriers. Professor Snape, with his dark, knowing gaze, would attempt to probe Draco's mind during their private lessons. But the boy had become surprisingly adept at deflecting even his head of house. "You're learning quickly, Mr. Malfoy," Snape would say, his voice carrying notes of both approval and concern. But Draco could never tell him the truth, that he was protecting not just his mission, but his growing horror at what he'd been asked to do. The bathroom confessions, Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, became Draco's sanctuary of despair. The ghost would later recount to anyone who'd listen how the proud Slytherin prince would stumble through her domain, his usually perfect hair disheveled, his grey eyes red-rimmed and desperate. "He used to cry, you know," Myrtle would whisper conspiratorially, great heaving sobs that echoed off the bathroom tiles. He'd splash water on his face and practice his sneer in the mirror, trying to put his mask back on before returning to the world. It was in this bathroom that Draco would stare at his reflection and see not the confident pureblood heir, but a 16-year-old boy drowning in expectations. The dark mark on his arm would throb with each sob, a constant reminder of the choice that had never really been his to make. The weight of killing Dumbledore, the greatest wizard of their age, pressed down on him like a physical force. How could he, a mere student, accomplish what the Dark Lord himself had failed to do? The answer terrified him more than the task. By itself, he probably couldn't, and failure meant not just his death, but his family's destruction. The Vanishing cabinet's cruel irony deep in the room of requirement. Draco spent countless hours working on the Vanishing cabinet, his hands often shaking as he performed repair charms. The irony wasn't lost on him. He was literally creating a pathway for Death Eaters to enter the school where he'd spent the happiest years of his life. Each night he would test the cabinet with objects. An apple one day, a small bird the next. When the bird returned dead from Borgin and Burke's, Draco had to step outside and vomit. He was creating a machine of death, and every successful repair brought him closer to a betrayal he couldn't bear to contemplate. The room of requirement, which had once been a place of wonder and magic, became his prison. Surrounded by decades of hidden objects, he felt like just another discarded thing that someone wanted to forget. The night of hesitation, the scene at Malfoy Manor, played out like a nightmare in slow motion. When the Snatchers dragged in 3 prisoners, Draco's world tilted on its axis. Harry Potter, his nemesis, his mirror, his strange obsessions, sat before him with a face swollen beyond easy recognition. Well, his father's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Is it him?" Draco stared into Harry's eyes, those distinctive green eyes that had haunted his dreams and his waking hours for 6 years. He could see the fear there, but also something else, a desperate hope that Draco might, for once, make the right choice. I can't be sure," Draco heard himself say, his voice barely above a whisper. The lie fell from his lips like a stone into still water, creating ripples he couldn't take back. Narcissa, Malfoy's sharp intake of breath, Bellatrix's frustrated "Preek," Lucius's barely contained rage-all of it faded into background noise as Draco realized he had just saved Harry Potter's life. Not because he had to, not because anyone was watching, but because in that moment it felt like the first truly free choice he'd made in years. The Quidditch Prince's hollow crown, his position as seeker for the Slytherin Quidditch team, which had once been a source of pride, became another reminder of his father's influence. Lucius Malfoy's donation of racing brooms to the entire Slytherin team had secured Draco's spot, but it also meant that every goal he scored, every snitch he caught, was tainted by the knowledge that he hadn't truly earned it. Flying had once been freedom, the one place where Draco could outrun his surname and his expectations. But even on his racing broom, soaring high above the Hogwarts grounds, he couldn't escape the weight of what he'd become. The wind in his hair felt like mockery, and victory felt hollow when he knew it had been bought rather than earned. The boy behind the mask in the end. Draco Malfoy's untold story is one of a child trapped between loyalty and conscience, between the family he loved and the man he might have been. His wand of hawthorn and unicorn hair had known all along what Draco himself was too afraid to admit, that beneath the sneer and the prejudice, beneath the family name and the dark mark, lived a boy who was capable of both great cruelty and unexpected mercy. The movies showed us the villain, but the books revealed the victim not of Harry Potter or Dumbledore, or even Voldemort, but of a world that had decided who he would be before he'd had the chance to decide for himself.